Welcome to Life Mastered, the podcast, where high achievers and ambitious souls come for the kind of support that fuels both inner growth and outer strength. This is your space for real tools and deep truths, for meeting life's greatest challenges with grace, resilience, and self-connection, and also expanding into your next level of purpose. I'm Molly Claire, your host, master coach, mentor, and guide, because life mastery is not about checking boxes. It's about how you meet yourself in every moment along the way. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to part 6 of 6 in this series on the podcast, where we have been talking about the life mastery method and how to really create lasting change. Not just new habits, not just new patterns, but lasting transformation, where you are able to be who you want to be, have the relationships you want to have that quality of life that you are craving, have the success, meet the goals, and really experience your life with a level of peace and deeper meaning that we all want. That's what we've been talking about, and today is the last episode in this series. So if you're just joining me and you haven't been with me in these last few episodes, that's okay. Stay with me. Today we're diving into understanding more about your relationship with yourself and how your relationship with yourself is actually the key to getting everything that you want. And we're going to talk about the fact that a lot of us don't really know what it means to have a good relationship with ourselves. And we're going to talk about the specifics of the implications of truly what is possible in your life as you improve your relationship with self. Because the reality is, when it comes to creating change, your relationship with yourself is the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I'm so excited to dive into this topic with you today. And before we go any further, well, in just a minute, I'm going to give you some highlights. We're going to kind of remember where we started in this series and come full circle to where we are here. But before we do, I want to make sure that those of you listening that have been feeling that nudge, that curiosity to maybe dive into exploring what Master Coach training would look like for you, now is the time. We are beginning the second week of September, and so you want to make sure to get your application in right away. I want to make sure that you also know that there is an option of a private mentorship. So if you are interested in learning this, but you really prefer more of that one-to-one experience, that is an option as well. And so if you've been curious, if you've been interested, make sure to take the time to fill out your application. This is how it works. You go to mollyclaire.com, or you can click on the show notes here, click on Master Coach Training, and you're going to fill out your application. There, you're going to tell me a little bit about your own experience, where you've been, what trainings you have, and what you are looking for. Now, from there, I review every application personally, and we can set up a time to talk, and I can really help you decide if this is the fit for you. So one more thing I want to mention, that I know some of you listening are curious, you want this, and Master Coach training is just not really on the table or in the cards for you right now. And what I want to tell you is I'm encouraging you to fill out your application anyway, because I will be opening a small group this fall that is obviously much smaller, much more condensed, and it's not the full breadth and depth of Master Coach training because it's just a fall program. But I am going to be offering something up for Coaching Skill Mastery to dive into these things for those of you that are not quite ready for that time or financial commitment of Master Coach training, okay? So if that's you, when you fill out your application, please indicate that there, because I really want to help you find the best fit for you, okay? I'm so passionate about this because I have experienced personally the tremendous growth and healing and expansion that has been possible with fantastic coaches. And I also know what it's like to have subpar coaches, or coaches that actually maybe take away from your self-connection or aren't really the thing that you need. And so I want to help you all to be effective for yourselves and those you're working with, okay? So, Master Coach training, apply now. It is going to be mind blowing, and I cannot wait. Today, let's take a step back and think for just a minute about something in your life that you want to change. And I've been asking you this question just about every week now, right? For the last 6 weeks. And so maybe it's that same thing you keep thinking of, or maybe it's something new that's come to mind. But I want you to just think about whatever's present for you right now, that area of your life that you would like to be different. Maybe feel a little better physically, mentally, emotionally. That relationship that you want to be better. Maybe your level of focus or ambition, your goals, the amount of money you're making, the quality of life you're experiencing, whatever it is that you want to be different. This is what I want to ask you. If your relationship with yourself were stronger, more connected, and better, how might it influence that area of your life? And as you think about this, I'm going to foreshadow a little bit that in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what it really means to know yourself, to trust yourself and connect with yourself, and what it really truly means to love and nurture yourself and your relationship with yourself. And we're going to talk about these specifically and dive into each of them. So let's go back a few weeks to session 1 in this series, where we ask the question, is change really possible? And we answered that question as well, and the answer is yes. It is possible for us to create new patterns of behavior. It is possible for us to be more responsive while being less reactive. It is possible for us to stop people pleasing, to set better boundaries, to be better leaders, to be more decisive, to feel more confident, more capable, more self-led. It is possible for us to change our lives entirely and create what we really want. Yes, it is possible. Well, then we moved on to talk about how do we do this? And in short, my answer to this is we need to ensure that that you listening, are resourced within you mentally, emotionally, having that emotional resilience, having that self-awareness, so that you can create changes by having clarity for yourself, by having awareness of your own patterns, awareness of the gap between where you are and where you want to go, and by having the type of strategies to move toward it, right? So as we asked and answered the question, is change possible? We moved right into mind mastery. What does it really mean to shift our thoughts and our beliefs? And how do we actually access them? Because saying an affirmation every day doesn't really seem to work very often, right? So how do we do it? We talked about that on episode 2 in this series, and we talked about creating new patterns. Then we moved on to understanding your emotional world. And I said pretty boldly, and I'm going to say it again, that one of the biggest gaps in the coaching world and in coach training is missing out on helping you to understand your own emotional world, to understand what emotional needs are and how those unmet emotional needs, and I'm going to take it a step further to say our lack of awareness of our own emotional needs is why we're struggling in our relationships, is why we're struggling to meet our goals, to achieve our potential. And so we really dove into that on episode 3. Get to know your emotional world, understand your needs. Then we talked about the nervous system, and we talked specifically about awareness of your nervous system and the different states, and this idea that while it's true that oftentimes our brain is detecting a threat and we're a part of our brain is believing our life is in danger, but we're actually not, it's also true that our nervous system is there to keep us safe, and it is brilliant and it is beautifully designed. And our nervous system can help to raise a red flag when we are engaging in unhealthy or even detrimental emotional relational patterns. It can alert us when there is a work situation that isn't sustainable, that's taking away from our health and wellness. So we really talked about understanding your nervous system and having that discernment. Then last week, we talked about action strategies. We got practical, we got tangible, and I told you some of the exact things that I not only teach my master coaches, but I do with my coaches, with my clients, as we're moving toward those action plans, and how effective action strategies take into account this bigger picture, right? The holistic picture of our mind, our emotions, our nervous system, and what is keeping us stuck and how we move it forward. And now today, we're talking about the through thread with all of this: connection with self, knowing of self, relationship with self. And I'm really hitting hard on this, in part because not all coach training programs or even coaches or coaching communities actually cultivate a strong relationship with self. And I will tell you that the differences are very subtle. And this is why I'm bringing this up with you, because as you listen today and you hear the things that I'm teaching, I want you to notice how they feel to you. I want you to notice what your own wisdom has to say about what I'm sharing. And I want you to notice some of the nuances that can be a little bit different with different coaches and in different coaching communities, because not all coaches are created equal. We all know, right? The coaching world is like the wild, wild west. Everyone has a different philosophy. Everyone has a different approach. And so it's really important that we are educated and that we can discern. And I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm bringing this up. And then we're going to dive into creating this strong relationship with self, okay? So the reason I'm bringing this up is I received an email this week that, quite frankly, it made me a little sick. Um, and I'll tell you why. I got an email from a coach training program, one that I will say was very much foundational to getting me started. And I gained so much from it. And I worked in this coaching organization as well. And so I have thoughts and feelings that are, I would say, very mixed, because I gained so much from it, as we always are going to do anytime we're seeking, right, a way to improve ourselves. But this email that I received was announcing a new and upcoming training where they're doing a master coach training. And there was one line in it that stood out to me, and I just wanted to bring it up in this episode. And I'll be honest, I've kind of been back and forth on like, how do I address this? Because I don't I don't like to bring negativity per se here, but also I think it's important for us to be educated and to understand these nuances, okay? So the sentence in this email read pretty close to, if you have a lot of questions or you're needing more details, then this master coach training is not for you, or not for you right now. You're not ready for it. And when I read this, I will tell you that it raised a red flag, because I have been on the back end. I have been in these systems and communities where questions are discouraged, and where the leader or the leadership or the philosophy is put on a pedestal, even above your own wisdom, your own, what you bring to the table, put above your own curiosity. And the message that this gives is, your needs are not welcome here. Your curiosity is not valid, and it does not cultivate a space of safety. Now, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know I talk about safety a lot, and that is because we absolutely have to have a sense of emotional safety in order to grow. If you go back a few episodes where we talked about the nervous system, if we are in a state of stress where we are kind of trying to survive, or we're trying to people please a leader, or we're trying to fit in, or we're trying to belong, guess what happens? We start to abandon ourselves. We go to that state of stress, And we start to do things, we start to behave in ways to try to be included rather than really tuning into who we are. And when we're in that stress state, we don't have full access to our prefrontal cortex, where we can have solid reasoning, where we can plan ahead, where we can strategize, where we can make decisions. And so I bring this up because it's these type of subtleties that I see in the coaching world that we need to pay attention to. If any leader is ever putting themselves on a pedestal or communicating in any way that the way you're thinking is wrong, the way you're feeling is wrong, your curiosity is wrong, they're actually doing the opposite of what I believe good coaching is, which is to actually cultivate within you greater strength where you are allowed to have needs and to be curious and to learn from what's there. I want you to think about this idea that, give me just a minute, because I had written this in my chart, but it's not right here on my fingertips. Okay, here we go. So think about the difference between I am the expert, you need to trust me. Don't ask questions, don't push back, you're just afraid, versus I am the expert. And my job as your coach and mentor is to help you develop your capacity to discern, which includes honoring your curiosity, honoring your thoughts, your feelings, and your intuition. I make space for it, right? This includes helping you to develop your ability to question, to think, to choose, to lead, and to be self-led. And so, as we move into today's training, where we're talking about your relationship with self, this is what I want to ask you. The people that you are following, that you are learning from, your coach, the people you're surrounding you, the people you are surrounding yourself with, are they in support of encouraging you and developing you? It matters. Let's talk about it. So I've already said, right, that your relationship with yourself is really the key to everything you want. And we're going to be talking about how to know yourself, how to trust and connect with yourself, how to love and nurture yourself. And before we do, let's just talk a little bit here about why it matters. So we hear a lot about having positive self-talk, right? And I think we all have this general idea that, yeah, it's a good idea to have a good relationship with ourselves. But let's talk about what it really means. So first up, think about this. How you feel about yourself and what you believe about yourself has a direct correlation to what you feel you are deserving of. What you believe you deserve. So how you feel about yourself and what you believe about yourself is directly correlated to your sense of deserving. What am I deserving of? And your beliefs about what you're deserving of will be reflected in your relationships, in the boundaries that you believe you are willing to uphold for yourself in your life. What you believe you're deserving of will be reflected in your lifestyle and the level of comfort and peace you allow in your life. So think about this. If this is true, that how you feel and believe about yourself is directly related to what you believe you're deserving of, and what you believe you're deserving of is reflected in relationships, boundaries, lifestyle, sense of peace and comfort. Doesn't it make sense that it's a pretty big deal? And I think as I'm saying this, I'd imagine you can feel the truth in this, right? We've all experienced this. When we deserve better, we seek better. When we believe we are deserving of, we ask for more. What a cool thing to think about. Next up, let's talk about just how well you know yourself. Why does it matter to know yourself well? Well, the reason why is that when you know yourself, you know what you want, you know what you like, you know what matters to you, and you know what gifts you possess. When you know yourself, this is when you have clarity in what you want and clarity about what the path to pursue it looks like. And guess what? Clarity and that certainty creates movement, creates momentum. So, as we're thinking about creating transformation and hitting goals and creating change, we've got to have some momentum and movement, right? So, do we know ourselves? Do you know yourself? Do you know what you really want? Do you think you're allowed to have what you want? Do you know yourself well enough to have the clarity you need to move forward? Really good question to ask yourself. And one more thing I want to talk about in terms of why this relationship really matters with self is that strong self connection, which we're going to talk a little bit about this in just a minute, will help all of us to fill the void and the emptiness that so many of us are experiencing. How many people are walking around feeling disconnected from the self, seeking some kind of validation or information on social media or doom scrolling? How many times are we bombarded with marketing that's telling us that something is lacking in our lives, something is lacking in us, and we need something out here to fix it so we can fill this emptiness? When in truth, when you can cultivate a better sense of connection with yourself, where you pay attention to how you feel and you pay attention to what you need and you tune in to your intuition, to your knowing, and you pay attention to your gifts. How about that? When you recognize and pay attention to the gifts you have, we all have gifts. When you do that, you will feel more of that sense of belonging, belonging in this world, belonging with yourself, more of a sense of certainty, more of that sense of your own self-worth. I mean, this is a big deal, right? Imagine if you believe and feel great things about yourself and know that you're deserving, how different will things be? When you know yourself well enough to have clarity and momentum, how different will things be? And when you have that self-connection and you see and feel your self-worth and your gifts, how inspired would we all be to go after what we want and create a life of contribution? Because this is the thing. A strong relationship with self, where you're comfortable and confident in who you are, when you honor your gifts and you honor and value your opinions and your emotions and your needs, that is the strength of great leadership. And great leadership, this type of leadership, is what impacts the world, is what impacts people, and what allows us as individuals to be resilient enough to really show up for other people. Because we're no longer just struggling to survive, right? We're solid and we can then give to others, which is such a beautiful thing. And I know all of my listeners, that is part of who you are. So it's really, really pretty cool to think about why this really matters. Okay, now let's get a little more specific. What does a good relationship really mean? Is it just saying nice things to ourselves? Is it doing a self-care day? What is it exactly? Well, I'm going to talk about 3 specific things. And the first is getting a gauge on how well you know yourself. So this is the question, okay? How well do you know yourself? Just think about this for a minute. I've got a whole list of questions here for you. How well do you know yourself? How well do you know your own patterns, thought patterns, emotion patterns, behavior patterns? Do you understand your own needs? Do you really know what you're needing in that relationship that's important to you or that relationship that you're struggling with? Do you understand what you're needing and what's missing? Really good question to ask to help you get a gauge on how well you know yourself. How about this one? Do you know who you are without labels or assignments? It's easy for me to explain who I am by saying I'm a mom, right? I'm a sister, I'm a leader, I'm a teacher. And these are all things about me, but they're also ways of describing me that relate to other people and how I give or do for other people, which isn't bad or wrong. But that's the question that I think is really good to ask ourselves. Do I know who I am, separate from labels or roles or what I've been told is true about me? How about this one? Do you know what your gifts are? And do you know why they matter? Do you value them? Do you see how and when they could impact the world? And one more question for you. How comfortable are you in your own skin? Do you feel authentic in the way you engage with people, in the way you do your work, in the way you show up? And so, as you consider these questions that fall under this umbrella of how well do you know yourself, this is a perfect place to start with this work. Because the better you know yourself, the more clarity you will have, the more true you will be to your purpose, and the more authentically you will be able to show up. And let me tell you, there is so much power in authenticity, so much power. And for those of you that are coaches that are running your business, this is a bit of a side note, but I want to bring this up because I see so many business owners trying to figure out the right marketing. And as I say this, I have not been exempt from this. And what I have found over and over again is that the best marketing in the world, even if it's not like you disagree with it, but if it's not truly authentic to you and who you are, it will not work. It does not matter if it is the best advice from the best sales or marketing expert. If it does not feel authentic to you and your brand, it will not work. All right. Let's talk about next up, number 2, when it comes to a good self-relationship. Let's talk about what self-trust and self-connection is all about. And part of this is your ability to trust yourself. I have some questions for you here as well. When you feel something about a situation, how much trust do you have in your emotions? Are you able to discern between emotions that are coming up that are more reactive versus emotions that you want to pay attention to? This requires a lot of self-awareness, right? And discernment. Do you trust the decisions that you make? Do you trust yourself to lead in your business as a parent, to co-lead with your partner in life? Really good questions to ask. And when it comes to trust and connection with self, here are a few things I want you to think about and what this really looks like. One thing is, as you tune into your emotions, and we talked a lot about this on episode 3 in the series, so you can go back to that. As you tune into your own emotions and tune into your own needs, this is how you begin to develop a relationship with yourself that is nurturing. Okay. And I'm going to talk a lot more about this. Actually, this is point 3 that we're going to talk about, but I'm touching on it here because when we have a relationship with ourself and with our emotional world that is caring and nurturing, it actually allows us to trust ourselves much more because we know that we'll always have our back. Does this make sense? Is this landing for you? So think about this for you. Are you able to tune into your emotions? Are you able to tune into your needs? As you continue to practice this, you will increase self-connection and self-trust. The next thing here is the ability to make clear decisions with inner authority will come about more as you continue to self-connect, as you practice trusting yourself. And what does this look like? Sometimes this looks like speaking up for what you believe when it's hard. It means practicing having that conversation so that you have a voice, so you can address things. And these things that can be difficult for us when we are willing to practice these behaviors, what you will find is that you can do that scary thing and have that conversation and you can be okay. And the more you speak up, the more you say that thing, the more you ask for what you want, you will feel stronger inside because you will know that you can trust yourself to take care of yourself. That is like one of the most powerful things that we can do, the most powerful gifts that we can give ourselves. And the last thing I'm going to touch on with regard to trust and connection with self is getting the power or the ability, I would say, to discern yourself from outside influences. So here's a question to consider. When you're hearing opinions of other people, are you able to allow information and opinions in, even those that challenge, like either go against or agree with, either which way? Are you able to allow them in with curiosity? And are you able to discern as you bring that information in where you agree, where you disagree, where you have unique thoughts on the matter? Your ability to discern yourself from outside influences and building that skill of discernment is something that will have a profound effect on your own self-trust and on your own self-connection. All right. Finally, let's talk about number 3. How do we nurture our relationship with ourselves? So I want you to think about this for a minute. Think about a great relationship. How do we have a great relationship? What builds a strong bond with someone? Well, a relationship deepens with attention, where there is trust, where there is listening and understanding. A relationship deepens when there's consistency, when there's compassion, and when there's care. So think about your relationship with yourself, the way you talk to yourself, the way you treat yourself, the way you advocate for your own needs. Think about that. And think about how things could shift for you as you gave a little more attention, a little more trust to yourself, a little more listening, a little more understanding, a little more consistency, a little more compassion, and a little more care. Pretty mind-blowing to apply these principles to your relationship with yourself. And I will tell you that when I'm working with my clients and training my master coaches, I'm telling you, this relationship with self is the beginning, middle, and end. It is woven all throughout everything. And in fact, in just a minute, I'm going to pose to you this powerful question that we discuss on day 1 of Master Coach training, because it is the thing that we want to ask ourselves regularly. Okay, so we're going to go there in just a minute. But right now, let's consider a few questions as you're thinking about how you love yourself and how you nurture your relationship with yourself. Do you keep promises to yourself as often as you would like? Now, as I go through these questions, you'll notice that I'm going to soften them with things like as often as I'd like, often enough, because we really want to be careful about absolutes, or I do this or I don't, or I'm good or I'm bad. And also, If you don't really like your answers to these questions, be gentle with yourself. That's the whole point of this, is that we have got to allow ourselves some space and grace to be human and to grow. And if we see things we don't like, it's okay. We don't have to beat ourselves up about it. We don't have to see it as a character flaw. We can just be aware of it. So let's go through these questions. Do I keep promises to myself as often as I'd like? Do I offer myself compassion enough of the time? Do I honor my own boundaries? And maybe taking a step back, do I even set boundaries? Okay? Do I give myself what I need? And do I advocate for those needs? Do I know how? Do I speak to myself with respect as often as I'd like to? Do I trust myself enough? Do I have my own back as often as I'd like to? And I hope as you are reflecting on these questions, you're seeing this moment in time as a starting point, because we always have room to improve our relationship with ourselves. And it is one of the best investments of our time and energy, because when you have a better relationship with yourself, you have a better relationship with other people. When you have compassion for yourself, you have compassion for other people. When you care about your own needs, you put yourself in a position to be able to care about and care for other people's needs. Everything you invest in yourself has the ability to be amplified outward from you. What a powerful thing to think about. What a powerful visual. Okay. So we're going to tie this all together, and then I'm going to ask you this question, okay? So over the last 6 weeks, as we've been talking about the Life Mastery Method and talking about these principles that I do with my clients, that I teach my coaches, these are the things we've talked about, right? Thoughts and beliefs, emotional world, nervous system, action strategies. Think about how your relationship with yourself will influence your ability to shift your beliefs, will influence your ability to change your ways of thinking. So powerful. Think about how your relationship with yourself will be strengthened as you get to know your own emotional world. Think about what a gift you will be giving yourself as you learn more about your own nervous system and what your brain and body do when you're feeling afraid and why you react the way that you do, and bringing some compassion and awareness as you take a look at your nervous system and the states of your nervous system will allow you to learn, will allow you to make better choices, and will build your own trust in yourself to be the decider of your own behaviors. And finally, right here, think about how when you build an action plan that is supportive of your desires and what you want, because you have that foundation of knowing yourself, and then you're able to follow through for yourself, how much that strengthens your own self-connection and your own self-esteem and how you feel about yourself. All of these things are interconnected. You cannot separate the mind, the emotion, the nervous system, and our behavior patterns, and you absolutely cannot separate how you feel about yourself and your relationship with self from any of them. And these are the ingredients for lasting change, hands down. All right, now listen, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to give you this question. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? I want you to consider this. If I deeply loved myself, would I allow this into my life? And I don't know what came to your mind as you heard that question. But most of my clients have something come to their mind that they want to change. So I'm going to ask again, and we're going to ask this with gentleness. We're going to ask this with compassion and with space. And we're just going to drop any criticism that wants to creep in. If I deeply loved myself, would I allow this into my life? Would I allow this situation? Would I allow this relationship dynamic? Would I allow this self-talk? Would I allow this behavior? And I want you to allow this to be a starting point today. And as you ask yourself this question, a few thoughts. Be curious. Stay open and be gentle with yourself as you reflect. And make sure you're building in support for yourself as you create changes. This is one of the most important things we can do for ourselves as we create change and transformation. We need the right support to build the internal resources, right? We want to be our biggest cheerleader, our biggest champion, and we want to build support surrounding ourselves with others who believe in us, with others who see what we can't see. This is why I will always have a coach, if not more, until the day that I die. This is why I will learn. This is why I will continue my growth, my knowledge, my education, my understanding. And this is why I surround myself with incredible people who are on a mission to make the world better. We've got to build that support. You deserve it. I deserve it. We all do. All right, coaches and listeners, that's what I've got for you today. Thank you for being here in this series. I would absolutely love to hear from you. What did you love about this? What did you gain from it? What's different for you? Send me an email. I read every single one personally, molly@mollyclaire.com. Let me know what you thought about this. And by the way, when you email me, let me know what you would love to hear from me. I'm really reconfiguring how I do the podcast, and I really want to bring you what you're going to love. Some of the things I've thought about doing are some live coaching, kind of taking requests and doing coaching on here, bringing more teaching. I'm definitely going to be bringing more conversations and interviews, so I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk with you next time. Thanks for being here and for investing this time in you. Keep showing up. Keep meeting yourself with compassion. That's truly what Life Mastery is all about. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And I would be honored if you would take the time to leave me a review. This ensures that this important work will get in the hands of more people. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, join me at mollyclaire.com where you can find all of the ways we can work together. I'll talk with you next week.